back with us. He's upgraded to computer level. He was on his phone last week, but Vincent is like has an encyclopedic mind, and he is going to help me get through some information that's really very new to me about John Calooney. I believe is am I pronouncing it right? Yeah,
Yeah,
John
Calhoun.
Calooney, the
Yes,
king.
Calhoun.
Calooney.
Often commonly known as Jack Kennedy.
Jack Kennedy. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're going to deal with that because I promised. I had some very interesting posts from him or somebody, AB, whoever AB is. Vincent will know, but we're this channel is a continuation of the Samantha. Let's just say her first name, the Samantha show, in that we wanted to share for the purposes of the Republic, really, but also for the purposes of people coming to understand what the hell's going on. Most people are clueless, but I wanted to do it from the point of view or have the additional input from somebody that's chronologically younger than me. I'm probably more immature than you, but chronologically, uh, I am older than you. I have 71 years. You're in your what, like 30 something?
30s, mid
30.
30s.
Okay, 30. We won't say because we don't want to, we don't want the women that are all pining away for you out there to know exactly how old you are because that's part of the game. Anyway,
Yeah.
we decided, Vincent and I, that we're going to do a slightly different approach to this show. And we're going to, because Vincent is so amazingly knowledgeable in if you would want to call it the body of work of Q, really it's really Q and related information. I don't want to call it conspiracy theory because that's what
Mhm.
the enemy wants to believe it is not. It is, in my opinion, it is truth. And I also want to add, before I get more involved in this discussion, that I had a long heart to heart with my friend James, and I've come to the conclusion I've surrendered to the idea, just based on some kind of navigational points that I'm putting together, that I mean, people find me funny. And and not only that, but they also like to go to sleep with the sound of my voice. It's just, hey man, what can I say? So So what I thought to myself, and I've been vocalizing a lot of anger lately. That I thought to myself, well, maybe anger isn't the correct approach to this. Maybe the fact that they kill, steal, torture, have sex with 8 million children a year. Maybe I should just be more like kind of like more mature about it, and not be so devastated by, and be thinking like, wow, this really pisses me off that they're stealing 8 million kids a year. But maybe I shouldn't get angry about it. Maybe I should just kind of like try to be aware of like the situation, and handle it in a more mature fashion. Like I mean, like up here in Arizona, we, some of these things are handled in a less delicate way than others. I don't want to get myself thrown off of YouTube. I know YouTube is a citadel, a fortress of proper ideas. Like the people at YouTube know exactly what's proper and what's not. For example, for years I've said to people, and I've gotten angry about it, I admit it, about the vaccine holocaust. But now I realize, the fact that they tried to kill billions of people, no biggie, man. I'm trying to grow up a little bit and be a little more mature about it. It's like 8 million kids go missing a year. A few billion people die from the vaccine holocaust. I think that YouTube knows much better than I do that hey man, it's just the way it is. Like when I was living in the Orthodox community and I was complaining about having to get vaccinated, they get basically my employer, the Department of Education, which has been found to be a money laundering institution, told me that if I didn't get vaccinated, I would lose my job. And then the legal community came to my aid and said, we'll represent you in court and we will drag this out so long that you will never see a dime. You and your and but it I'm reaching the point where I realize, like, hey man, no point getting angry about it. It's just my job and my future, and that those kinds of little things, details. But I just want to give a shout out to YouTube for keeping things in perspective and really having the right way to look at things. Like, it's not really a vaccine holocaust. It's just doctors having fun. I mean, there's other ways to look at these things than to be angry. It's like, hey man, the doctors, they were bored and they decided that, maybe a little mass murder would kind of like spice up their day. It's like, okay. So I'm trying to take a more mature approach about these kinds of issues, and I think humanity should as well. That we should, like, just be able to turn the other cheek and just say, hey man, you killed my you killed my grandmother, you killed my mother, you killed, all my friends. And it's like, okay, maybe I needed new friends. Maybe I was too attached to my mom. I mean, in other words, there are more mature ways to think about it. And YouTube seems to be the citadel of proper understandings of issues. So I just wanted to just kind of relay this as a kind of apology to my people, my family here, that if I was angry in the past, I'm going to try to do better in the future and just say, 8 million kids a year, hey man, it's probably a good thing. It's probably, like I was saying, when I was in the Orthodox community, they would say to me, Ellie, you're going to lose your job if you don't get vaccinated. Don't you believe in God? Don't you believe, like, you'll get vaccinated and it's going to be okay? I'm like, at the time it was like, well, I do believe in the divine, the divine spirit, and but perhaps, perhaps I was a little bit rash to refuse the vaccine and also have my channel ripped to shreds by the citadel of proper behavior, YouTube and Google, who engage. I mean, they engage in money laundering and child trafficking on a grand scale. So it's probably they understand these things better than I do. So I'm just coming to kind of understand and find a more mature way of dealing with this. So, yeah, thoughts about the productive outbreak. It's fear mongering, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't want to be a fear monger. I don't want to, like, stress out about 8 million kids go missing. It's like, or the vaccine holocaust, or the fact that they've stolen all our tax money and put them into illicit foundations that are very into pedophilia, and like that. I think as humans, we need to take a more mature view of this whole thing and just be like, hey man, I believe in God. It must be good. It's like, it's okay. But anyway, so with that aside, since I have a real expert of who understands, he's really, like, very sharp, very similar to my beloved Daniela. She remembers everything. If I say, well, what's the name of we're trying to procure a sink out here, and she's like, well, like, if I asked her what was the name of the sink we looked at last month, she would probably remember. At any rate, I told Vincent, and I told you, I told my loyal listeners, um, again, I'm not going to get angry about the fact that Joe Rogan, who's an absolute blithering piece of, no, I mean, a high being of, a very astute and well positioned person, and also a carbon copy of the original Joe Rogan, that his material is so much more worthy for millions of people to follow than mine, that I have to be humble about it and just say, hey man, people are just not ready, and maybe I was just a little too angry. So I'm trying to reposition myself. But Vincent and I found yesterday, and I wanted to share this information about John Clooney. And I've heard about him before. I had a dear friend named, well, I won't go into her name, but she was from North Carolina. She used to be on the channel all the time. And she spoke of him very favorably. And she wanted to get us together to broadcast together, which I'm open to if he's interested. But I don't know if he gets as much. It seems like from his numbers that he and I are in like a similar league. We're like, YouTube. When I do a YouTube that's really provocative and profound, I might get up to 800 people. Um, and I should be grateful. I am grateful. So, formerly, before I started getting blacklisted by the citadel of civilization, Google and YouTube, the crowned prince and princesses of normalcy and of proper ideas. I had 60,000 subscribers, and I was growing like wildfire. But they were kind enough to take that situation away from me. So I should be very grateful to YouTube for keeping me in my place. And I'm not going to get angry anymore. I'm just going to go with it. But let's share these posts together. Do you want to share a little? Let's read this post together, because I think it is
Yeah.
profoundly interesting. You agree?
Oh yeah. The one from EB that you shared.
Yeah. Let's start with that. Do you have? Okay, let's go here.
I'm
gonna.
looking at it right now. Is it the one with Jack Kennedy holding the white sign?
I'm going to give you a choice. Can you see the screen?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so it started here. Then there's another one here, which
I
also
didn't
has,
see that one yet. Let's see.
and then there's this one. Which one would you prefer?
Oh, hold on. So I think I'm in a different place. Sorry.
Can you look on? You're looking on the screen.
I'm scrolling on your X profile right now.
Okay, but
Oh,
look at the screen. Just look at your computer screen, and because there are a couple up here, right?
okay, yeah. I
Okay,
do
so
see that one. I was wondering if you could scroll down a little bit further because there's a better
okay,
one.
okay,
A little bit
got
further, a
it,
little bit further.
got it.
That one. That's the
This
one I'm talking about with Jack Kennedy on it. Um, that's the one from AB I thought you were talking about.
Okay, well, this kind of sums it up, right? I wanted
Right.
to read that whole thing, but
Okay, sure.
but no, but okay, but they told you Israel killed me. They lied. It was my own government, the deep state, the CIA, the Pentagon. I was going to expose them, and I'm going to finish it. JFK Jr.
So I'm
This
going to
is
pause you right there. So that right there is referencing John, right? Because
okay.
JFK Jr. is John. Just
JFK Jr. Okay, so this is about
yes,
so
yes.
John
But that
is
is, is Jack Kennedy. There is holding the thing. So Jack Kennedy is saying that, but then John is coming to avenge his dad. Right.
okay. Got it.
That's the way I kind of understand that one.
Okay, so then let's go into this thing with well, let's read tell me which one to read. Which
Oh,
one
go scroll up and I'll read the first one you posted.
okay.
Um.
And because I also want to go into the John Clooney thing.
Oh, there. Wait, you scroll down and you went past it. The
This
one
one
that's from EB that says the real law. Yeah.
uh okay, wait. Did I missed it again? The real law. Okay, here. This one?
Yeah. So I can I can read this.
Okay, but let me just
Sure.
I have to stop sharing, and I have to bring it up on the screen. Let me show you how to do this. I'll do this. Okay, go here, and then I can show more. This is the one you want to read?
Yeah, the one that said The real law, because that was the next AB one you shared.
Oh,
The first
okay,
AB one you shared had Jack Kennedy, and
okay.
then
Here we go.
the
Is
next
this
one,
this one, Vincent?
yes. That's interesting. So, what if you knew on January 17th, 1963, your entire government was dismantled? On November 22nd, 1963, you were put into an alternate reality where your government existed. Everything that you need to know was inside of the JFK files, and that's why nobody ever released them. They tell you the plan, it tells you what's going on, it tells you there are no laws, no government, no president, no SCOTUS, no Congress, no legislation, no attorneys, judges, mayors, governors, law enforcement officials, landlords, or company owners have even existed since 1963. I think you guys better wake up to the reality because you don't know. You don't got much time left. It will end where it began, Dallas, Texas. What day is Trump going to Dallas, Texas? So that was just that post from AB.
Do you want to read the real law? Can you see this even?
Yeah, I'm actually on X right now.
I'm just
So
giving it
this
up. I
is
just have,
about common law,
okay.
right?
Go.
Yeah, I pulled it up on X, so I blew it up. It says the common law is the real law, the supreme law of the land. The code, rules, regulations, policy, and statutes are not the law. You want me to read the whole thing here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, legislated statutes enforced upon the people in the name of the law is a fraud. It is no authority and is without mercy. Justice without mercy is godless and therefore repugnant to our United States Constitution. Lawmakers were given authority by the people to legislate codes, rules, laws, regulations, and statutes which elected and appointed officials, municipalities, and agencies, but were never given authority to control the behavior of the people, as we read to a U.S. Supreme Court decision. All codes, rules, laws, and regulations are for the government. For government authorities only, not human creators, in accordance with God's laws. All codes, rules, and regulations are unconstitutional, lacking due process. And again, all laws, rules, and practices which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. Legislators simply don't have the authority to rule make where rights secured by the Constitution are involved. There can be no rule making or legislation which could abrogate them. Thomas Jefferson said, I would rather be exposed to the inconveniences attending to much liberty than those attending to small a degree of it. Wow, that's intense, not gonna lie.
So, what do you make of it, Vincent? Let's stop sharing for a moment.
Okay. So that was
By
the
the way, I'm
primary.
dealing with a huge storm behind me, so enjoy the show.
So, and then you shared another AB thing above that said the world is shifting and everything that is not in alignment with truth, integrity, and higher consciousness is being dismantled. This is not random, it is an initiation. Now, um, here's how I want to look at breaking this down, okay? Um, I obviously was not alive in 1963. Um, I have heard from a number of people. One of them, amongst other ones, one of the people is a controversial figure in the movement named Phil G. Have you heard of him? Phil
Yeah,
Godleski. He
yeah.
made a film called JFK 104. I watched it, and it essentially pointed out that Jack Kennedy was not killed and did not die in 1963. Um, I have heard extensively since being in this Q movement, since 2020, after the stolen election of 2020, I have come to the firm belief through many, many people, starting with Scott McKay and moving on through Kerry Cassidy and so many others, of just taking what I'm consuming, and I've come to determine that John did not die in that plane crash in the summer of '99. He did not die. Okay, he is alive somewhere now. Some people say that the character named Juan 07 or 10717 is John John. I like to refer to him as John John. It just keeps it easy. We got Jack Kennedy as dad, then John John as son. Okay. I don't know exactly when Jack Kennedy's dad, President Kennedy, actually passed. It could have been 21. It could have been at the age of 104. I just do not know. Okay. But I do not believe Jack Kennedy was killed in 63. Long, long, long before I was born. So, John, when I was a boy, was allegedly died in some plane crash off the New York coast. But I am of the firm understanding that John did not die in that plane crash. It was some sort of stage, and he's been running this Q movement from behind the scenes. And I have taken more flack than you can possibly comprehend for these ideas. Now, when the thing about John is he running this? Is it 107? I don't know, but that's kind of on the understanding, like breaking this down. Is John behind the scenes somewhere? In what capacity is he behind the scenes? Is John wearing a mask and portraying a public political figure? Something like that. I just do not know. That's why I consume so much content, because I want to bring it all together and I want to understand, where is John? Who could he actually be? You know, will he reappear as the vice president or the president? I do not know. And that's what big, big part of my understanding is, recognizing this Kennedy bloodline, and then Ben Danklin, a very prominent ex profile I follow, claims that the Kennedy family is actually the Calhoun family, and they're on the same bloodline of Abraham Lincoln and actually Jesus Christ himself. And I believe that Trump could possibly be in this bloodline too. And that's what I've studied extensively over the last 6 years, trying to understand and debunk all the lies we've been told about Jack Kennedy and John. I believe are two of the most consequential figures in human history. So I want to kind of break that down a little bit. And I know you've been making podcasts for about 5 years, right? Since 21, right? Have you gone down the Kennedy, understanding the Kennedys, both the Jack and the John, and seeing how they fit together in this whole Q movement? You're muted, I think, Ellie.
I haven't. We're dealing with a very severe storm up here. Let me just change my my viewpoints here, and this will help people understand what I'm looking at. But yeah, we're looking at a really a big windstorm. I'm not interested. I'm not so interested personally in the actual reality of the situation, in the
Right,
details, but I am interested in this idea, and I, the idea of bloodline families. It's all very nice and well, but at the end of the day, I believe that it's we're not going to be saved by in my opinion, it is my opinion that we're not going to be saved by the king. It's just, I mean, if anything, if anyone really suffices as a king, it could be Trump. Now, what I just saw on this channel was an unmasking of the Trump character, and
right,
underneath the
yes,
mask was John Clooney.
right,
So, in terms of it's just my opinion that I don't get involved in the movie.
right,
I don't really care about the reality. What I'm looking at is the consciousness and the development of humanity. So whether John Clooney is the true heir of, and this may be a fundamental kind of Christian Jewish type thing, but I don't think the Jews get it either. I don't think anyone is really getting the idea that Q put out in his one of his last posts, that it's focus ascension, that it's all it's our personal responsibility, in my mind, to work on ourselves and to come to an understanding. I mean, it is interesting, the idea of the return of the king. I know that that's a Tolkien idea. I mean, there's so many things mixed in involved. Tolkien, they're saying, was a 33rd degree Mason. I mean, there's so much mixture of third dimensional, of people, places, and things, that I find it confusing and not terribly important. But I think what is important is that we are waking up to see, to find the world is not what we think it is. Now, do you give credence to the idea that basically everything stopped in 1963?
I do not know that yet, because I've heard possibly everything stopped in 1871, hence the Trump and the 19th president, around the American Civil War. Um, as for 1963, I don't. I haven't really studied the timelines. I just know that the timelines are all wrong. Um, Now, the Q
Well,
drops
wait,
explicitly starts.
let me just interrupt for a minute.
Sure.
What do you mean by the timelines are all wrong? What is that, your understanding of that?
Well, the history I studied was all wrong. Like anything that's on Wikipedia history, anything that I studied in school is all wrong. And it really disappoints me tremendously that all that time I spent studying was all a bunch of lies.
Okay, at the risk of getting off on too many tangents,
Sure, sure.
how do you fit in the idea of Tartaria with your current thinking in terms of history?
That's a great question, because if Tartaria existed and then was erased or destroyed or demolished, like that means our entire history is false, just completely false. And if the Kennedy's real name is Calhouni, that really throws, like, everything's up for reinterpretation is what I look at it. Because if I look at, like, okay, when I was in school, I had this list of presidents to memorize from a little piece of paper or a bookmark, and if I named them all, I'd get a little piece of butterscotch candy. And I went from George Washington all the way up until the time it would have been George W. Bush. Yes. And I only memorized those because the book publisher put that list of presidents together for me on the page, and I memorized them. But I don't know, obviously, if those presidents really existed at all. And that's kind of my mindset. Now, if Tartari, which I believe was in there, and I didn't learn about it, then for certain all of the history is wrong. And I've really come to terms with that all the history is wrong. And I've come to realize that most likely, a fairly high degree of certainty, that John is behind this military operation. I mean, we're in a history bending time right now. The fact that I'm even talking that all the presidents I learned in the 90s and 2000s were like not true or lies is just more mind bending than I can even comprehend. And if I think about like, did history stop in 1963? I know for a fact that there are these things called timeline jumps. I don't really understand it yet. It's a very esoteric topic. But if I look at like what's been shared um, about the Kennedys, um, nothing is as it seems. Like the Kennedys, the way I look at it, in all honesty, is that I believe that Jack Kennedy and John are essentially biblical figures. Like, biblical. Like, I don't even know the extent of it. I'm still trying to piece it all together. I'm doing the best I can to piece it all together. I hope I'm making sense.
Well, interestingly enough, I was alive and conscious in 1963, and I can tell
Okay.
you that the assassination of our president at the time was absolutely devastating on all levels, personal, political, and to think that this criminal gang took over the world in 1963 and killed a sitting president
Yeah.
and did it before even. I mean that we've been subject to this giant morass of misinformation about everything. I'm sorry.
I know.
It's so windy here.
Oh, I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
You want to go downstairs? I should have broadcast from downstairs. Okay, but it's kind of. I mean, well, if let's hope if we survive this storm, well, it'll be a testament to my ability to create architecture that
Let me ask you something. Do you get into analysis of what Juanito says at all?
not really. I'm really I'm more interested in where consciousness is going.
Okay.
That's why I analyze ideas, not
Okay.
events. I'm not interested. I'm not focused on what's really happening because it is so far from our understanding that it doesn't to me it doesn't seem worth considering. What I
Yeah.
am interested in is the way ideas unfold, and
Yeah.
the way that so this whole thing with Lincoln. I mean, they're tying Lincoln in with, the Jesus thing. I'm Jewish, so that's not important to me. But the Lincoln thing and something fell off. That's okay. We'll see if we may have to end the broadcast early because it's getting a little bit.
Are you gonna have to relocate possibly?
What's that?
Are you gonna
I,
relocate possibly?
okay, we can go downstairs. Okay, so my okay, let's just you keep broadcasting. You can talk and you can see what's going on in the chats. I'm gonna move my office downstairs because
Okay.
it's pretty windy up here. Okay, so,
Okay.
so you go ahead. I'm gonna put it.
Yeah.
Let's see how I can change this. I don't want to do it that way. Let's see if I can. Okay, I'll go like no. I'm gonna go like this. Wait, let me do this right. I'll go like this, and then I will mute my visuals. But you can
Okay.
see that. That's not good. I wanted to make yours really bigger, but I don't seem to be able to do that in
I'm
this.
still here.
Okay, you're still there. Okay, so I'm gonna mute myself, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay. All right. So I have gone down essentially it's been broadcast to the Q movement, this character of 107, and 107 always broadcast towards his boots, and because of that, he gets a lot of flack, and he can go on for a long time, and some people resonate with him and some people don't. And um, I honestly need more compact things that are more targeted at this time to really understand this 5D chess, irregular warfare that we're living through. And however, certain individuals claim that this 107 character is indeed John John, or John John wearing a skin suit. Others do not. um, it's hard to say. He certainly knows a lot, but um, as for if I can make a definitive determination or not, I cannot say with any large degree of accuracy or confidence that 107 is indeed John John or not. Um, I have spent much of the last 6 years listening to endless Rumble content, and now at nearly 3.5 thousand total Rumble clips watched. And because of that, I have seen the whole gamut of the truth movement across these last 6 years. And because of that, I feel like I'm in a completely different reality from people. I mean, now the number one thing I hear about is Tartaria and this so-called lost, erased civilization from a great reset. You know, we got Honey Golden talks about this. Anina from Vivid Earth 5D talks about this. And then Eli here talks about this almost extensively. The idea of Tartaria. And what that essentially means is that all of our history, all of it is all a lie. And it's just such a hard thing to even comprehend. So I will wait now for him to jump back into the thing. I know he had to relocate due to a storm in the top floor of his thing. But being an Anon, being a digital soldier has made more sense to me than anything else. And I have been able to follow it and not get sucked into narratives that I guess disturb a lot of the general population. So that being said, I will just wait for him to hop in here. I've heard Nino Rodriguez called Juan 07 Juan Juan. Oh, wow. How about that? That's interesting. Hasn't Juan recently shown his face? Can't say I know that for certain. I've seen pictures of Juan's face on Carrie Cassidy intros, which I do pull in and listen to for a very balanced perspective. If I could put a message out to all truthers that I listen to and consume, I consume content from all places to put things together in a coherent narrative. I've dedicated my life to doing this, to understanding the Great Awakening, and I pulled data points from all over the place, including but not limited to Ben Danklin, Rob Cunningham, the KUWL show, Cool Show, Brad Wozny, the Sovereign Soul show, um, so many of them, Mel Carmine of the XRPQFS team, Joe Rosati and Scott Stone from Truth Stream. Joe Rosati's song Freedom Now has been the greatest song I've ever heard in my life. I really appreciate the song All We Want Is Freedom Now more than any other song I've ever ever, ever heard in my life. It's just such an amazing song. I've literally watched it over 170 wink wink times easily. It just never gets old ever. And it's just been like an anchor of my life. And I've even taught like a close friend of mine who doesn't follow Rumble or the Q movement to say all we want is freedom now. And someone said JDZ8CH Vincent, you live in Philly, right? I'm in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'm in the Delaware Valley region, um, southeastern PA. Um, so I'm just waiting for Eli to get back. I'm actually going to send him a quick text right now just to make sure he's okay. Man, what other stories have I heard over the years? I see someone says 107 is 17Q. That's awesome. It could very well be. I know Mel Carmine of the XRPQFS team has interviewed him. I know Brad Wozni, the Canadian, has interviewed him. Certain Anon channels do not touch him with the 17-foot pole. Some don't like them, and that's okay. What other ones were weird? There was a whole Michelle Moore saga with what's his name? Oh gosh. Who did she interview? I forget. What was that guy's name? It'll come back to me. Patriot Underground interviewed Michelle Moore about 2 years ago. Mike Gill. Yes, that was it. The whole Mike Gill saga around Michael Flynn. It seems like the P word anchors back to everything in the Q movement. The P word is like the greatest offense, the thing that anchors the whole thing together. This whole movement, this whole truther movement is the P word, and the SRA and the CST and the A word. It all seems to come back to that in some way, shape, form, or fashion. That's really what it all comes down to. For me, I've heard many people say, like Scott McKay, the PSF, saying with his shirts that say, save the kids. And then we got Joe Rosati and Scott Stone from Truth Stream saying, we do it for the kids. I don't have any children of my own or nieces and nephews yet. But when it comes to the children, it's just a recurring theme that I've seen over the years. Is they do it for the kids, the child sex trafficking, the satanic ritual abuse. Like if I think about what Scott McKay and others said about the tunnels under Washington, D.C., if I think about that, like that's just mind blowing. I will never drive into that district again, knowing what I know now. Let's see, Eli was a huge patriot. He's kind of let go, so to speak. I don't know where he is. I'm gonna text him again. Eli was a huge patriot. He's kind of let go, so to speak. I'm not really sure. Let's see. He's typing to me right now. He says, in a few. Sounds like he's reconstructing his. Someone just said it was so hard to find all this out. Everything was a lie. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go a little bit here. The biggest things that are on my mind. So, like, we talk about this empire of the three city states. You got Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, surrounded by Maryland and Virginia, and then we got the city of London, then we get the Vatican. Like, if Washington, D.C. is like redistricted, will it become part of a state again? Like, that's a big question of mine. What will happen to all the residents of the district? Here he comes, blue. Oh, nope.
Now I'm okay. Let me.
Have you been hearing what I've been saying, Eli?
No, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you, but you're still
you
blue.
can't see me. Okay. Um. Yeah. No.
No,
I.
you have a
We,
black bubble with a little E.
okay. I'm going to go out and come back. I think if I can do
You
that.
probably just need to turn your camera on.
Okay.
Probably just need to flip the camera button.
Well, no, I did that and it doesn't seem to. There we
Okay.
go. Okay, let's try that. Uh, I don't know why it's. Let me think. All right, you go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, there's a little camera button.
Yeah, I have the camera button, but it's
Maybe you're blocking your screen at the top with the little camera
no,
cover.
no.
Just turn it on and then off again.
Turn it off. How do I turn it off?
I don't know the whole thing.
Okay, let me go.
You're doing great, Vincent. Thanks. Eli, I see you again.
You see me? Yeah.
No, not camera, but I see your black bubble.
Okay. All right, just go ahead. I'll speak.
No, the camera.
I don't know how to. I don't. Yeah, I have to leave the whole.
Are you
thing.
on a laptop or on a phone?
No, I'm on a laptop.
Yeah, you have to.
You might need to go to settings and click audio or video, and then go to video input. None. Click none on video input, especially if you move your laptop downstairs.
Or just go ahead with what you're doing.
It's so hard to go in and
because okay, I'll just
you
I'm-
need your face. So
I'm
or
gonna
not
leave.
on
Okay, I'm
cameras.
gonna leave from here.
Okay.
Something serious?
Have you ever heard of Charlie Freak? Yes, I've heard of Charlie Freak. I haven't listened to him. I've also heard of Jason Q. And, let me just look at my Rumble list. I'm a massive Rumble user. I basically live on Rumble.
Okay, so we're back. Yeah, you could hear me and see me.
Let's see. Hold on. I was looking at somewhere else. Yes. Hi, you're back. Good to see you. Yes. So I was going through the whole 107 John thing, the whole Kiri Cassidy thing. I was going through Joe Rosati and Scott Stone, my whole podcast journey over the last 6 years. And I'm willing to jump in wherever you want to go now. Because
Okay. I want to get back to the big picture here of the
Sure,
idea
yeah.
that our timeline, that our entire reality is suspect. Is that we are living in a kind of a netherland between timelines where we think it's I don't think anything that we've been taught about our reality is going to help us understand where we're holding right now. But it seems to me there's a certain resonance to what this John Calooney is saying, that it seems like it's very well possible that 1960. I mean, it seems my approach to life is I believe something until it's not true. So it could be, it's worth examining this idea that everything changed in 1963. And I know for me personally, everything changed in 1963. I mean, there's no question about it. After we lost Kennedy, then we lost Martin Luther King, then RFK, was it RFK? I mean, all these hits that the bad boy cabal took over the world, and that they were already in control since 1871. Um, how do we connect in other words, we are, in my opinion, it seems like we are in a time, in a time like a non-existent world. We do not exist in the sense that we think we exist, and that it's not just the information about our timeline, but it's coming back into divine reality. It's coming back from so in I think what they're saying is that by fixing this particular timeline, by going back in time and realizing that JFK didn't get killed, that the cabal took over the world, at least from our eyes, that they continued lying to us about the true history of existence, that we came from a very advanced civilization, that
Yeah.
they moved us around on these orphan trains. They changed our history, they changed our history books, they changed our Bibles, they changed everything to make it seem like this timeline was the correct timeline. Now we, as aware beings, as sentient beings, of beings of that are able to think, that have a consciousness, that have a kind of a direction, a director within us and outside of us, that we need to now not just, I appreciate your work, and I appreciate 107 and Joe Rogan and all these guys that are trying to patch together what's really going on. But they are so far afield. They are looking at details that have no relevance from what I'm understanding, to the big picture here. The big picture here is that it's all a lie, and that we need to
Yeah.
wake up to a whole different reality. And that's, in my opinion, that seems to be what a timeline shift, a timeline repair could be. That we have to go back in time in some way to 1963. I have to go
Mhm.
back to being 9 years old again, and recreating a different sensibility, a different consciousness, a different history, a different economy, a different educational system. I remember, right, around 9 years old, I was in like fourth grade. By sixth grade, they were teaching social relevancy. They were teaching the sort of system was already completely corrupted, where the
Right.
good people, the people in my town, which were all well-meaning, very successful, forward-thinking people, were no longer part of this kind of 50s wartime mentality, and we broke free into this social relevancy. I mean, we were studying in social studies. I had this radical teacher who was teaching us that the story about the cherry tree, for example, about Washington cutting down the cherry tree, happened to somebody else. It happened to some preacher, and it was just, that everything, and that, I don't know. It was just, it was a hodgepodge of different ideas coming together. And now what I'm thinking is that we've been led as a species through this. Q always says we have to show. Sometimes you have to show people and not just tell them.
Yeah.
That we've been led through, in particular, the vaccine holocaust, and
Yeah.
that this was part of a wartime strategy in which many of our best soldiers died. They
Right.
died of blood clots, they died of unexpected diseases, they're crippled now, they're not, this was a war.
I want to make a really important point that you've mentioned about like 1963, and you're talking about going back in time and timeline jump. So I am extremely analytical, and I notice things people do not understand, like calendars and clocks. I can remember dates from over 20 years ago, and I've noticed that something that no one ever talks about is the Energy Policy Act of 2005, how it extended daylight savings time from used to start the first Sunday of April and then got moved up to the second Sunday of March, as when the spring forward in most states, not Arizona. And then it used to go into the last Sunday of October, and then it was moved back to the first Sunday of November. I follow this X channel called Save Standard Time, and I've seen that there's a battle in Congress. So it's probably some sort of 5D chess battle about locking the clocks on either daylight savings time or standard time. It's one of the two. It's going back and forth. Okay, they're two bills. One's called the Sunshine Protection, and then the other one's called Protect the Kids. And there are these two bills, and one of them wants to lock it on year-round standard time. One of them wants to lock it on year-round daylight savings time. So another thing, though, that's the practical what's going on right now in like the news. So when you talked about going back in time, it's like, okay, so they're already talking about tinkering with the clocks. I keep hearing this weird stuff about the Julian calendar, the Gregorian calendar. We got the 13-month calendar that allegedly began in April with this other month called Sol. And because of that, it's like I know we got every leap year is a so-called election year, but if the calendar is wrong, what kind of tear in the fabric of reality is that in and of itself? And you're talking about a timeline jump, so like maybe we need some people like including but not limited to Lewis Herms say that we're on the wrong calendar. What exactly does that mean practically for us? Like, is it not really July 12th? Is it another date? We all have birthdays. We all have anniversaries. We all have ages. If the calendars aren't right, how do we measure our time? That's what I'm thinking through here.
Well, that's a very interesting, and let me tell you from my point of view how I look at that, because I was Orthodox for 25 years. I followed the Jewish calendar, which goes by the moon. Now I'm coming to the conclusion, yeah, and again, you can't find any real information anywhere. I don't care 107 or anybody. There is no information about who and what we are. But it is my opinion, based on observation of my own
Yeah.
personal life, that the moon is a like it changes it's heavy, it affects the tides. I think it's an evil like machine. It's a machine designed to keep us in the fear space. And
Yeah.
so
It's some
if
sort of disk in the firmament that moves around the known lands of our realm. I can
right,
say that with certainty.
right, but
Definitely not a rock rotating around our like rock
right,
sphere.
right.
Sure.
So from my point of view, because I live in the outback, I live in the middle of the desert. We don't really have a house yet. It survived that last windstorm, which is a good thing. But the other night, like I used to wake up periodically with real serious anxiety attacks that I did not understand. The other night, I put it together that the moonlight was coming through my window and I suffered a severe panic attack. So now I cover up my window facing east, and I sleep through the night. So the whole, and this is dealing with the Jewish calendar, the idea that it's run by the moon and the sun, and in Orthodox Judaism, there's books written about how to calculate the festivals and the time, and
Right. And
it,
on
it
that note, I've always been one to understand the equinoxes and the solstices with the sun angle.
right.
And once I kind of woke up to that, I was like, okay, so the sun angle, the sun moves around our realm accordingly, and that's where the seasons come from. And I think you're kind of tying it into Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. That's all
But
I know really about the Jewish calendar.
right, but what I'm thinking, again, and I'm thinking outside the box, and I think this is what's going to be required for us to survive and thrive in this new epoch of civilization, is that, and I've heard this from other people, that they created the idea of time to to mess with us. That this whole, and I know that when I was living in the Matrix, I was heavily, I could not exist without having a watch strapped to my wrist. I was, and it had to be the right watch, and it had to be a reliable watch, and it had to be a certain type of watch, and it had to
Yeah.
have the dates, and it had, but now that I am outside of the matrix, my sense, this whole thing of time, I mean, I have to ask Daniela, like, what time is it, only in relation to my broadcasts, because for us out here, we don't really have time the way you do in the matrix. It's just like the light goes on in the morning, and we operate beyond time. We operate based on what the weather's doing, how hot it is, and it's a different sensibility. And I think we've been brainwashed, just like with our fake history, into believing that time and the calendar and all, and this kind of constant bookkeeping about our lives is nonsense. It's totally a made up thing. The light comes on. I mean, I'm going back now to Genesis, and I appreciate you putting up with me, because most people couldn't sit in the, you're doing just a great job about kind of grounding my ideas, but the whole thing is bullshit. I mean, it's just our whole lives, in that they've moved us into this idea of time and money and calculations, and keeping track, and being like an accountant of time. That this is, in the divine realm, this may have no relevance whatsoever.
I can't say I know that for certain. All I know is I track calendars and dates very closely because that's how my existence is structured. Um,
Exactly my point.
yeah, I know for certain there was no Big Bang. That there was definitely no evolution. Um, how long this whole thing takes to really unfold is really anyone's guess. You know, what this looks like, because like to measure time, we just passed a few weeks ago the summer solstice, the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, which I know now is the center of the disk of the known lands of our Earth realm. Now, I've heard from some people that the Earth realm, the known lands, are shifting, which means that certain lands will freeze and become uninhabited, while new lands will thaw out. That's one way. That's one viewpoint. I'm not certain if that's real. This is one I've heard. Another one from the Honey Sea Golden view is that the Earth is a toroidal field and it's a terrarium and it'll shift in a different way. I'm not quite sure. Then we got the Flat Earth Dave and his viewpoint, which is a little different too. Then I've seen things on Janine Morigu Tarot by Janine's channel, which show like all these other lands and the in the rings of the ice walls beyond our lands, which and our lands are in the center of it. And there are definitely multiple sun disks in the firmaments. So that's another piece to take into account too. Is the shifting of the known lands, which some people say are pole shifts, the concept of a pole shift. Um, I can't tell you how good it is talking about these two topics. You know, the calendar, the realm, Jack and John. It all makes so much sense to me. You can probably tell that, right?
Well, explain what you mean by it makes sense to you.
It just my brain's always trying to problem solve. This is like the ultimate problem solving of our existence. What kind of surface are we actually living on? What exactly is the blue sky above us? We were taught it's this vast outer space void vacuum. But if it's a firmament with sky ice, with the sun disk moving in it, that makes a lot more sense. I don't exactly know how the sun disk makes the plants grow or the leaves die in the fall or the snow in the winter. I'm not certain about that yet. I'm trying to figure that out. We also have these things called equinoxes or solstices, which, as I understand, the summer solstice is when the sun disk is in the middle of the known lands and you're like rotating closest to Canada and Russia. And when it's, um, so that's the summer solstice, June 21st. Then October, let's see, no, September, the autumnal equinox, the sun disk is moving out toward Australia. It's widening its loop. And then by come the winter solstice around December 21st, it's closest to the ice wall ring, which is shown on the United Nations flag with the rings. So it's out near Australia. I don't know if it speeds up or not. I really don't know. But I know that in the winter solstice is out there. Then come March 21st for the vernal equinox, it's coming back toward the center or the closest to the ring near um, Canada and Russia. That's inner circle. So that I can tell you, I believe, based on what I put together from Phil Godlewski, Flat Earth Dave, and Honey C. Golden. I see a chat here. Honey, thumbs up. Yes, the lands beyond. Vincent, what are your thoughts on a solar flash? I don't really know what a solar flash is, honestly. It says Earth shape is perception depending on what dimension one is in. Wow. Okay. Another thing about these satellites that go over us, I was taught that they're rotating around this sphere, but honestly, I feel like they're held up by helium balloons up there, and they kind of just move across the big dinner plate like disc. So that's my thoughts on that piece. Now, as for calendar, a lot of people say we shouldn't have a leap year or a February 29th. We last had February 29th and 24. We'll have our next one in 28, and then after that, 32. Like, if the calendar's wrong, how do we structure our ages or our anniversaries or years, you know?
Is it even necessary? I mean, that's the thing. If they've indeed shortened our lifespan, if we indeed live forever, which is a belief held by a lot of people,
Yeah.
time
Life
is
extension technologies, yes.
even technology even that we were supposed to have. I mean, if you look at Genesis, in Genesis, what were the gods afraid of? They were afraid that we were going to eat from the tree of knowledge and then eat from the tree of life and live forever like them. I mean, this is, and they talk about in Genesis as well about that the sun and the moon are just a creation to help us keep track of time. So, so it could be very well be that in different environments, this is just it's not something like, for example, I mean, and this will seem like a weird thing, but I was just let me just show you this video. I
Sure.
think
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
let's see if I can find this.
sure.
And then we'll probably start to. But I think this is really that we do work very well together, and I do enjoy your way of looking at things. But I want to share this, and this may seem like a non sequitur, but it relates in a way that I'll explain it after we watch this. After we watch this little video, let's see if I can find it. Where'd it go? Let's see. This is my channel. Um, no, it wasn't about baking. Oh, here it is. Okay, let me just play this thing, and okay, why am I showing you this film? This is to show you a lot of us are trying to figure out what's real and what's not. And
Yeah.
Vincent, I applaud you for your ability to do so. I've taken the other viewpoint. I'm just like, okay, I'm not it's not so solid in my mind. But think of this. Watch this film. This is a place that is on our earth. This is a place that has a country like other people have countries, but they approach it totally differently. Just think about how our world is affected by the thoughts that the Matrix puts into our head. So let's watch this film together. Let me see if I can do this. Yeah, here we go.
Than the King of Great Britain. And no, it's not Switzerland. Its inhabitants are so wealthy that they don't need to work for the rest of their lives, allowing them to dedicate themselves only to what they love. They benefit from low taxes and have no external debt. Here, it is not customary to make noise or disturb neighbors. Everything is based on mutual respect. Showing off wealth in public is considered bad taste. Crime is so rare that people don't even lock their doors. Only 7 people are in prison, and even they receive their meals delivered from a restaurant. There are fewer than 100 police officers in the entire country, with just over 30,000 inhabitants. Citizens of this small country have a standard of living 5 times higher than that of Americans. Service workers come from Germany and Austria to work here. This country is called Liechtenstein. Like and comment below if you'd like to live in a country like this. If you're not following, you'll probably never see us again. But if you are, congratulations, you're growing every day.
Okay, the reason why I found this so fascinating is here's a country, it exists in space, it exists in time, that have a completely different way of doing things. And it sounds, there's no crime, there's 7 people in prison, there's unlimited money for people. This, in my opinion, is where we're going as a species. We're going to be living like in Liechtenstein, that we're not going to be so obsessed with time and what and that a lot of this what we take as normal is a corruption of and not just corruption, but taking advantage of our beauty and our innocence and our ability to bend and to change and to morph into what seems to be suitable. But we're living in a criminally designed organization. It could go back as far as Genesis, that these criminals have been in control. It could be that Genesis, the whole world was created in 1820. I mean, there's no way, and no expert and nobody who, in my opinion, who can really set the record straight at this point. But what I think we could safely say that we're coming away with after the Q movement and after this the vaccine holocaust and the the finding out about the Fed and the money laundering and the child trafficking and the 8 million kids that go missing every year and all this, is that we have been living and accepting a world that is run by hardcore criminal cartels, and that we are, I believe, on the cusp of being freed, whether the king is coming or not. I mean, I personally don't like the thought. I believe that everyone will become a sovereign citizen. Everyone, we were talking last night about how you'll be able to invest. You won't have to be for a hedge fund from Connecticut to be able to invest on the XRP blockchain in whatever suits your fantasy. You'll be like the people in Liechtenstein, and you'll get up in the morning and you'll do what you love to do, because all these constraints are about to be eradicated. Will people be able to handle the freedom that is inbound? I don't know. But I just think that everyone should pat themselves on the back for making it through this incredible awakening, and that this is not just figuring out, what really happened to JFK in 1963. In my opinion, this is about the world that of us deciding, consciously deciding, that we want to live like we live in they live in Liechtenstein, that we want to just do whatever, and I think we're not far off. That's my opinion. What do you think of all that?
I haven't even honestly tried to wrap my head around something like that just yet. It's just too out there right now. I've heard of Liechtenstein, but I never knew what it was all about, honestly. Honestly, I've never really known anything except survival mode. Is
Right, and that's
work,
all of us.
pay
That's all of us.
work, pay bills, collect money, invest what I can, repeat. That's all I've really ever known ever. Since like 2007, 8, approximately. Um, yeah. I mean, some of the things I hear out there, like certain technologies will eliminate money. Like, I don't know. It's hard to even fathom about certain things like that. Um, it's honestly mind bending for sure. But I feel like we're at the cutting edge of like the most unique time in the history of civilization itself.
I agree, and thanks for coming on and being brave enough to deal with a character like me. I really appreciate it. I just want to remind people who are complaining. If you do want to help us buy some plywood, you could send Venmo to Q Drummer Girl Drummer 17. Yeah, no,
No drummer girl.
Yeah.
no, Q Drummer Woman 17, or PayPal Danielle Chernesky.
So you don't have Zelda.
We don't have Zelle.
You said you have it. So
I don't have Zelle. I don't. I've been taking
No, for me.
for you. I don't have your Zelle. I'll get her Zelle. But also that if you're interested in the LifeWave technology, give Dr. Stacy a call, and she'll be happy to talk to you about your particular individual challenges, and what patches are best to help. We're coming into a new world. I mean, that's the
She's
what
gonna be here at 8 o'clock.
who's going to be here?
Morning.
Oh, she's going to be here at 8 o'clock. We have
I think if I look at what's really going to start to change everything, it comes down to something I say over and over and over again. This is like the linchpin that will be changed, the change of civilization. It's as simple as XRP, QFS, and Asara Gasara.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that we're coming into a new age, but and we're being prepared for that, and all the things that seem so startling in the information stream are just there to prepare us for what's next, which is liberation. So let me just play my tune. I usually end up with this to end the song, end the evening. And thank you again. Let's just play this and then we'll come back and sign out.
Living in the city, I was paying down my bills. One flat tire and the whole thing went to hell. Credit cards for groceries, I'm deep in debt again. It's time to split this scene, walk with you, my friend. Leaving the matrix, heading for the promised land. They stole our money, but they couldn't stop the plan. Let's go together, playing with the band. Leaving the matrix, we're heading for the promised land. Stopped paying taxes, your insurance I don't need. The medicines are killing us, hospitals grow like weeds. Moving to paradise, I don't need no gassy cars. Fake news, endless wars, a satanic legal bar. Leaving the matrix, heading for the promised land. They stole our money, but they couldn't stop the plan. Let's go together, playing with the band. Leaving the matrix, heading for the promised land. My friends all tell me I lost control. Left my wife and job just to run down rabbit holes. But I can tell you one thing about my fall. Where we go one, we go all. Leaving the matrix, heading for the promised land. They stole our money, but they couldn't stop the plan. Let's go together, playing with the band. Leaving the matrix, heading for the promised land. Leaving the matrix, we're heading for the promised land.
Thanks, everyone, and thank you, Vincent. You were just tremendous. We'll do it again next week if you're into it. I mean, I'm always happy to. I think you add tremendous a sense to what we're considering here. Another way of looking at things, and I think we're heading for the promised land. I think this is all creation. That it's about to. It's like a big evil balloon. It's like the moon, and you stick a pin in it, the whole thing is going to blow up, and it'll be gone. Now, those of us who are waiting for the EBS and the the XRP to go to the moon, that's all fine and well, in my opinion. But I still maintain that we need to lead humanity out of this illusion. I mean, look at our neighbors in Liechtenstein. These are normal people just like us. They have no lack. They have tons of money because they're not being led by an illicit criminal gang of child rapists and money launderers and fiends and reptiles. They are outside, and we are coming into that age. So I think it's really exciting, and I'm also grateful that I didn't get blown out of off my second floor. That was pretty exciting. But thank you so much, Vincent. And any last comments you want to make?
No, honestly, my voice is kind of shot, to be honest.
Okay, so save your voice. Yeah.
Thank you for having me on again to talk about everything that's been on my mind. I feel like the more content I consume, the more is on my mind. And as you can see, I know a very wide scope or breadth of content.
Right, but could it be that we're now starting to get beyond this information and moving into Liechtenstein, into the promised land, into beyond?
I guess we'll see. I mean, it has to be a chain of reaction. I mean, we have to see some sort of changes in our infrastructure, either in PA or Arizona or California or wherever. Things have to change. I mean, we have to see changes in Phoenix and Sacramento and Harrisburg and Washington, to name a few. We have to see a total shakeup of the whole financial system with the QFS and the tokenization on the XRPL. That's how it all goes down, I think.
Cool. All right, so everyone, use the force. Know that you are the force. That we have control. Now that we're seeing beyond the veil, now that we can see that the only difference between us and Liechtenstein is that they don't have a government that tries to kill them. A medical community that is interested, corporations that feed you seed oils and other poisons. They just live a nice life, and that's. It's not that we have to do anything so different. It's just that we have to remove all the veils and darknesses and misconceptions that they've clattered our minds with all these years. So the history and all that. So anyway, so have a great night. I'll be back tomorrow I'll just be by myself, and then Tuesday we'll be doing the crypto thing. And we're getting through the week. I may or may not be here on Thursday. Just a heads up. And probably not. But we're moving and grooving up here. We have a new person from the channel is coming up tonight, so we're very excited about the community expanding. The garden is growing. We're dealing with all kinds of new situations like windstorms, and so. May force be with you. May you realize that you are the source of creation. The difference between you and somebody in Liechtenstein is just the government. So once they get out of the way, and you can kind of like just leave also, and we're also we're eager to be able to have more people come and visit us up here, beyond the matrix, and that seems to be happening. So. Let's get out there with a big smile on our face. Thanks again for coming, and rock